I saw the sun begin to dim and felt that winter wind blow cold. A man learns who's there for him, and the glitter fades and the walls won't hold. 'Cause from then rubble, what remains can only be what's true. If all was lost, it's more I gained, 'cause it led me back to you. And from now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the light. From now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. Tonight. And let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on. For years and years, I chased their cheers at the crazy speed of always needing more. But when I stop and see you here, I remember who all this was for. From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. And from now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. And let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on, from now on. And we will come back home, home again. And we will come back home, and we will come back home, home again. And we will come back home, and we will come back home, home again. From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. And from now on, what's waited till tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. And let this promise in me start like an anthem in my heart. From now on, from now on, from now on, we will come back home, home again. And we will come back home, and we will come back home, home again. From now on, from now on, home again.
ערב טוב וברוכים הבאים לישיבת
העתיד. Before we start, I would like to ask everyone to switch their Zoom to speaker view in the top right corner. I am Tomer Ronen, and I am honored to welcome you to our open house. Tonight, we will share the vision and mission of our wonderful school, along with our special educational philosophy. Yeshivat Ha'atid was opened in September 2012 with 116 students. And our mission since that first day has always been to deliver excellent Jewish education in an affordable way. Now, in our 9th year, Baruch Hashem, we have more than 575 students and our first ever alumni, the class of 2020. I would like to share with you a video we created last year that highlights this very mission and philosophy.
Eight years ago, we were an idea, a dream. Today, Yeshivat Hatid is an integral communal institution saving our community millions of dollars annually. 8 years ago, we were 3 grades, a seed. Today, Yeshivat Hatid educates over 550 students across 12 grades. 8 years ago, we set out to change the landscape of what a Jewish day school could be, a disruptor. Today, Yeshivat Hatid continues to innovate in the field of education as we graduate our first class.
Modern Orthodox families have been struggling with the obligation to pay yeshiva tuition for decades. In 2012, a group of us were crazy enough to think that we could make an impact upon this problem. So we set out to do research. And we quickly discovered that what had been happening in countless industries throughout our lifetime was really the same in education. We could create a better experience for the students at a lower price point. Not only could we make the product more affordable for our parent body, we could actually improve the quality of the education. As we prepare to graduate our first class later this year, we can look back and say that what might have seemed crazy to some 8 years ago, today has proven to be revolutionary.
When we set out to build a disruptive tuition model, we also decided to disrupt on the education side as well. We spent a lot of time researching 21st century educational best practices and ultimately decided upon the rotational model. This model ensured that all of our students would get an individualized learning experience. From the start, our plan was for this model to be replicated across the country and even globally. We're happy to say that dozens of schools have sent people to dig into our financial and educational model, and in fact, there's currently a school in the Old City of Jerusalem that's using our model today. Our goal is to stay at the forefront of education and continuously innovate within the framework of affordability.
When I first learned of Yeshivat Hatid, I was skeptical that it could deliver all that was promised. But when I saw firsthand the dedicated staff and lay leaders, their vision and the drive they had to make this dream into reality, I knew I had to be part of this revolution. And now, here I am, creating futures with everyone in this building. Every teacher and administrator in our family is inspired by our mission. It's not just a job, it's a calling. I'm inspired by our mission and the ways we are improving Jewish education, and I'm excited to share it with future generations.
We decided to send our children to Yeshivat Hatid because we were excited about pioneering a new and unique approach to Jewish education. From the moment we began our research, what we found was an unbelievable community of administrators and staff and visionaries committed to building an incredibly special school.
When we look back over the past 8 years and think about where Hatid started and where we are now, we're incredibly proud of how Hatid has taught our children to think independently, problem solve and work together, skills that will take them far in their professional lives, while at the same time nourishing their souls and immersing them in Torah and Yahadut, instilling in them a deep love of Am Yisrael and Medinat Yisrael that forms the very foundation of their spiritual lives.
We are incredibly grateful to the staff and educators and administration of Yeshivat Hatid for partnering with us in the education of our children. We're thrilled that we made the decision to join this mission from day one and saw it through to the graduation of our daughter. And we've always been incredibly impressed by Hatid's devotion to continuously innovate and grow.
As I look back on the past 8 years, the lessons I've learned, the friendships I've made, and all the experiences I've had, it's all been a part of me reaching my full potential as a student and as a person. Yeshivat Ha'atid will always be a part of me, and my friends and I, as part of the first graduating class, will always be a part of Yeshivat Ha'atid.
We have led the revolution to modernize Jewish education. We have shared it with our students. We have shared it with other institutions. Now, we would like to share it with you. Be a part of our revolution and create the future of Jewish education with us.
In this week parasha, right before Hashem destroyed Sodom, Hashem said, "Ve'Hashem amar, hamechaseh ani me'Avraham asher ani oseh." Am I not going to tell Abraham what I'm about to do? כי ידעתיו למען אשר יצווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו, ושמרו דרך השם לעשות צדקה ומשפט. I know my son Abraham. I know that he will teach and command his children to follow Hashem's path. At that point in time, in Abraham's life, Yitzchak was not yet born. How could Hashem already know ki yeda'ativ, that Abraham will be a successful mechanech, that he will succeed in educating his children? I think that in this pasuk, Hashem is giving us the secret and the recipe for success in education. Principles, or the way that we call them, core values. Abraham lived his life with strong principles. His core values guided him day in and day out. Therefore, Hashem knew that he will teach his children to believe in and follow his core values. So, what are our core values? What is our 4 core values of Yeshivat Ha'atid? Kavod veKehila, respect and community, Torat Chaim, living a Torah life, commitment to best self, Metzuyanut Atzmit, and Hakol Besimcha, joyful mindset. I would like to take a few minutes and explain each and every one of them, and maybe we bring some examples as well. I will start with Kavod veKehila. There are many things that we do throughout the year to build our Kehila. Hallel every Rosh Chodesh with the whole school, Kalawar, cross-grade Kabbalat Shabbat every Friday, and many, many more. But I would like to share with you 2 short stories from the last few weeks that really capture this value. This year, I have the privilege to daven with the 7th graders. And as you know, this is the time, 7th grade is the time that boys started to have their bar mitzvot and start to serve as chazanim. Just 2 weeks ago, one of my associate principals told me that when she was walking to Bet Knesset, she saw two students talking to each other. And one of them is encouraging his friend to be a chazan. That child was shy, was embarrassed. But the child that encouraged him looked at him in the eye and say, I will stand right next to you. I will help you. Don't worry. This was a moment of nachat for all of us. A 13 years old child thinking about how to involve his friend in the most respectful and gentle way. And another story, as you probably understand and know, that this year is a different year in so many ways. One of the changes was that we cannot use our lunchroom. We have a beautiful lunchroom and we can't use it with all the students in it. And our students are actually eating their lunch in their classrooms. When we started the year, we learned that our lunch lady will not be able to join us this year as her child attend public school that is closed. So what will be, how can we get it done? How can we deliver all those lunches to the classrooms every single day on time? Guess what? Without a moment's hesitation, our parents jumped at the opportunity, and many of them coming every day to help us to serve the lunch. Our parents' body is involved in the school in so many ways, and I believe that it is mainly because we all share the same value of respect and community. The next core value is Torat Chaim. We believe that learning Torah leads to living a Torah life. The way to do this is by bringing the Torah to life for the children in a fun and engaging ways. Just yesterday, I was walking in our middle school hallway, and I walked into an AV class, and I saw the kids, the students are excited and working together in teams. The teacher ran to me and with a big smile on her face, and she said, "Look, they are preparing a rap song about the Navi that we just learned." I can't wait to hear those songs. The next core value is Metzuyonut Atzmit. We always encourage our students and the staff to do more, to think outside of the box, not to be afraid to ask questions. As they say, any question is a good question. We are not looking to have every child the same and put them in the same box, but we are looking to see everyone doing everything the best that they can on their level. And the last one, everything is done besimcha. Many times, I like to ask the student if they know what is my job. Over the years, I heard many funny answers. Just yesterday on election day, one of the kindergarten students told his mora that Rav Ronen is the president of Yeshivat Te'atid. But the real answer is that my job is to make sure that everyone is safe and happy. Yesterday, I spoke with a parent of a 7th grader who her son had to stay at home. She told me that he spent the day begging her to go back to school. That is how I know I am doing the job. I am doing my job of keeping the students happy. If a child just wants to be in school. Tonight, we will share a small window into our school and how we are providing excellent Jewish education in an affordable way. Now, I turn the stage to my amazing staff who will share with you the magic that happens in our classroom every day. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, my name is Leora Sasemsky. I teach kindergarten at Yeshivat Hatid. We know that you're here to listen and find out more about our amazing early childhood program. And we could sit here and we can talk about it and tell you all about our wonderful curriculum. But just the same way that we teach our students through hands-on, meaningful learning experiences, we wanted to provide you with a more meaningful experience as you visit our classrooms. There's nothing better than seeing it firsthand.
Every morning when the children walk in, the classroom is set up with certain activities available for the children. They are able to choose which activities in which they'd like to participate to encourage independence. They are able to socialize with their friends, and they come to expect a certain morning routine. Message is a very important part of our day. It is a way for us to reinforce and teach literacy skills. It's also a vehicle for us to explain to the children what we will be doing that day. Going back to the literacy aspect, we set up our morning message in such a way that it is full of mistakes that the children need to find. I can say that right now in my classroom, the children are very used to the morning message and the mistakes that they should be looking for. And many of them walk in first thing in the morning before I'm ready to teach the morning message, and they are spying to try to find what the mistakes are so that they're ready for when we actually do the morning message. Types of things that we do in the morning message consist of we are reinforcing using uppercase letters for certain words. We are teaching punctuation marks. We are teaching sight words. We can find sentences. All of this contributes to a really exciting and fun way to teach literacy.
We have Kabbalah Shabbat today. Okay, here's our next one. Are you ready to dance? What is this? Who can be ready? Are you ready to dance? Who's ready to dance? Love. What's the matter? What's missing there, Clara? The V. The E went where it was supposed to, but the V just got lost. I think he was hiding. He didn't want it. He thought I would forget the E. Okay. Love, Mora Tippy, and Mora Leah.
Morning message isn't only about literacy in kindergarten. We also teach math through our morning message. We sometimes put in numbers. The children have to come in and fill in the missing numbers. We might tally, we might graph.
4, 5, 6.
What's next, Jonathan?
7.
You got it.
My favorite number.
What number is that?
5.
Amazing. We don't only do math through morning message, though. There are many other ways we incorporate math into our classroom. For example, we count to the 100th day of school with our calendar activities every morning. When we count to the 100th day of school, we don't only count to 100, but we are also counting by 5s, we're counting by 10s. At Yeshivat Hatid, we use the rotational model to educate our students. Beginning in pre-K and continuing through elementary school, we believe that children learn best when they are engaged on their own learning level and with their own learning style. During rotations, children have a variety of educational experiences all geared toward their abilities. In a typical rotation, which usually lasts about an hour, the children rotate through 3 to 4 different groups.
One group is literacy-based, and we use the Foundation's program to build our students' phonemic awareness. They begin by identifying sounds, then words, and finally sentences. The goal is to provide the foundational skills for children to become lifelong readers. Another group is usually computer-based, and the children are able to utilize different educational software. Through programs such as Lexia and ST Math, our students have the opportunity to practice and reinforce their developing literacy and math skills. A third group is play-based, which provides the opportunity for our students to interact with each other. Since the rotational groups are fluid, children have the chance to interact with all of the students in the class. Important life skills such as sharing, turn-taking, and community building are being developed. Children are not just learning about good midot, but they are living them. Our final group is our Ivrit group, where students are exposed to the Hebrew language in a variety of exciting ways.
בגן שלנו אנחנו לומדים עברית בעברית, ואנחנו לומדים גם אותיות וגם מילים וגם משפטים. אני מאוד אוהבת ללמד את השפה העברית. אני ישראלית, נולדתי בארץ ישראל, ומאוד חשוב לי שהילדים ילמדו את אותיות הקודש, את השפה המדוברת כל יום בארץ ישראל, ואולי אפילו עם המבטא הישראלי, גם זה לא נורא. אנחנו לומדים את זה בדרך כל כך חווייתית, משתמשים בכל החושים, אם זה בליגוע, במשחקים, אם זה לראות תמונות, כרטיסים, לשחק, אם זה אפילו בלטעום, לאכול, לא נורא. ולפעמים אפילו בתכלס, אנחנו משתמשים בחוויות כדי ללמד את המילה, למשל, מילה שהיא מאוד מופשטת, כמו מאוד מאוד מאוד. אז למדנו קר, למדנו חם, נגענו במים חמים, נגענו במים קרים, עכשיו צריך ללמוד מאוד מאוד. אז רצים החוצה. יש רוח, הרוח קרה, מזג אוויר קר, רוח קרה, כן, ואז עושים מאוד 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 מאוד. אז הנה למדנו מילה מופשטת, בלי לתרגם, דרך חשיבה, דרך ראייה ודרך תכלס.
The world of kindergarten is full of fun. All of our activities are based on real-life, meaningful experiences, and no 2 days ever look the same. The Jewish calendar is the springboard for our curriculum. We have an interdisciplinary approach in which Judaics, math, literacy, science, social studies, and arts are incorporated into each unit. For example, if we are speaking about Parshat Lech Lecha, the children learn that Avraham traveled. They talk about believing in Hashem and doing whatever is asked of them. In math, they will then do addition activities where they use stars to count and reinforce their one-to-one correspondence skills. They take the concept of stars further into science, where they learn about constellations and then make their own. Since Avraham traveled, we travel. And where do we go? We explore the world. We might go to Italy, where we learn about the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the waterways of Venice. We make pizza and we lie on our backs and paint like Michelangelo. This is what makes our early childhood so amazing. One experience leads to multiple experiences, and we are not just exploring what is in front of us, but we are opening up the world.
Teaching kindergarten is really rewarding. As a kindergarten teacher, I really appreciate and enjoy seeing the children all day long. And then when I walk through the hallways, other children that I've taught in previous years come running over to say, "Hi, Mor Leora, how are you?" Even at the end of the day, I am standing at the end of the carpool line, and children who have been with me all day long are still hanging out the window saying bye. It's just fun and exciting, and we have very warm relationships with our children.
I hear you're looking for a school for your kids. Come to Yeshiva Hatid. It's great.
Okay, hi, I'm Laura Tsippi, another kindergarten teacher. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I hope you were inspired by what you've seen tonight in our kindergarten. It's a glimpse into our whole early childhood. It's like that in pre-K too. If you haven't seen the Bitmoji Fair, please go back and visit the Bitmoji Fair. We're so excited to be here tonight and for you to learn more about Yeshiva Hatid. We hope to see your kids next year.
שלום כיתה א'. שלום כיתה א'. שמי אסנת ברון, ואני המורה לעברית של כיתה א'. אבל למה? In our class, we learn Hebrew with joy and passion for the Hebrew language. We enrich our Hebrew program with creative projects, singing, dancing, performances, and even story writing. We are learning to use Hebrew in our daily lives. For example, this week, we read the story Mi Bakita, and the children acted out the story as the characters. We learned the letter Gimel, and we learned the story Gimel al Gag Bagan. Every student made his own Gimel, and we played with the letter Gimel by putting the letter on a different body part. Gimel al habeten, Gimel al harosh, Gimel al haozen. Through this interactive method, we improve the knowledge of the letter Gimel. We learn the meaning of the word al, and we learn the name of the body parts. When we learn the letter Tet, we will make our own kitchen, המטבח של כיתה א', and the children will be tabach or tabachit, a chef. They will tell us about their favorite dish and how to make it. We do yoga otiyot, letters yoga. We shape our body like the Aleph Bet letters. When we learn new words, we add them to our dictionary. We build sentences and we write stories. At the beginning, the stories are short, just a couple of sentences. But by the end of the year, the stories will become long and meaningful. Can you believe the children in first grade can write stories in Hebrew? I have many books from the beginning of the year. The most important thing is that we take into consideration the diversity between the students. Everyone works at his own level and pace. Our model is to study in small groups, and we are doing our best to accommodate to the new limitations. We have 3 different study groups. One is computers group, one is the independent group, and one is the reading and writing group. Our Hebrew program is based on the Talam program, and we use the iTalam computer program. Our class is a warm and safe place. Every day in our class is a celebration, Chagiga. The children are very happy and proud to learn Hebrew.
Hi, shalom, good evening. My name is Rabbi Yitzchak First, and I am the 5th grade Limudei Kodesh teacher, where we teach the kids Mishnah. We start with Mishnah this year, the first time they're ever learning Mishnah. We start with and continue with Torah and Navi, which we build on what they've learned in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And I'm going to try in the next few minutes explain to you how our classrooms work and why you should send your child to Yeshiva Ha'atid, the place where we really care for the whole child, not just individual subjects. We really, as Rav Ronen said, care about Torat Chaim. We want to bring the Torah and the study of Torah to life to the children. It shouldn't just be, and Moshe met Paro, and Moshe said this, and read the next passage. No, especially when they get to 5th grade, we analyze the psukim. What can we learn? What is the Torah trying to tell us? We do many, many projects. As an example, instead of having a test on the Perek Aleph, which we just finished, we did a playbill where the kids had to take the ideas that they learned and try and make the first Perek into a Broadway show kind of, and explain to me what the different roles of the different characters were based on Rashis and different things that we learned. We continue on to build on the rotation methods that they got in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And we try to analyze and using the rotations to work on each level. Here at Hatid, we care about the whole child. As a matter of fact, last week when we did Parshat Lech Lecha, we learned about the concept of Abraham having to save his little nephew, Pidyon Shuyim. And we brought a whole lesson into Operation Thunderbolt in 1976 when the Israeli troops went to Afghanistan and liberated the hostages. And we showed how the Torah was teaching us what happened in the past will happen now. We do many different projects that we have planned for the year, but the most important fact is we really love each child and we take each child for his or her own individual level and try to build on what they got from 3rd and 4th grade and to move them on to middle school. We do many different projects, like they have a Navi fair at the end of 4th grade for Sefer Yehoshua. In Sefer Shoftim, we show the relevance of what happened back in the time of Yeshua, still again happens today. As I said before, it's a living Torah. It's meant to be that everything that happens can still be learned from it to teach us what to do in the future. So with that in mind, you should think that when they get to middle school, they're ready and prepared for middle school and to move them on into high school.
And speaking of middle school, thank you, Rabbi First. Hi, my name is Yair Dar. This is my 5th year at Yeshivat Hatid, my 3rd year teaching Limudei Kodesh in the middle school. So I'd like just to spend a few minutes to just reflect on what Limud Torah means to us in the middle school, and not just Limud Torah, but also Yahadut, because especially when our students get to middle school, it has to become clear from us that it's not just about Limud Torah, it's not about what they learn, but it's also about because while our students are going up a level qualitatively in the type of Talmud Torah that we are doing, we also want to give them a qualitatively different experience with Yiddishkeit, with Judaism itself, to giving them the experiences and see how Judaism can mean something to our students beyond what it has in the past on a much more mature level. There's a pasuk in this week's parsha referring to Yishmael, where it says, "Vayishma Hashem l'kol hanar ba'asher husham." Yishmael, Hashem heard the child's voice, Yishmael's voice, ba'asher husham, where he was. And I think that's really, when I think about teaching Torah in our middle school, I really think of that pasuk. We are trying to meet our students, our students where they are at in life. Again, Rabbi First mentioned it, and Rav Ronen mentioned the value of Torat Chaim, and this is kind of how we kind of live through that in our middle school, trying to see how our students can relate to it more personally. And why is that so important? Because that is where our students are at in life right now. Middle school, the time of pre-adolescence, adolescence is really a time of identity formation. Where teenagers or preteens are starting to think about, who am I in life? Thinking about, what does it mean to be independent? What is my purpose in life? They're trying to build new relationships. Who are the people that I want my role models to be? Who are the people that I want to associate with? What does it mean to be more mature and to make more mature decisions? And that's really what we're trying to tap into. When they're trying to find their sense of identity, we want to give them, show them a Limud Torah and a Yiddishkeit that really relates to them on that personal level where they can really connect to it. I'd like to explain how that works both through our curriculum and through some of our unbelievable programming. So first of all, there is an increased emphasis on Chavruta time. with the acknowledgement and the understanding that some students might need a little extra support in terms of their individual learning skills. We're trying to take the individual learning skills that they learned in the younger grades and try to help show them how they could take independence and how they could take responsibility for their own learning. So there's a much more focus on that chavruta time where they could be proud of, look what I learned on my own. Look at the skills that I built earlier that are now changing the way in which I could connect to Torah. Additionally, in our Chumash curriculum, so we were also trying to step up the level in which we teach. We're giving our students more analytical skills, not just what is Rashi saying, what's Rashi's question, what's Rashi's answer, but how can I learn to think like Rashi? How can I compare what's Rashi saying to what Ramban is saying? This next level type of, to help students feel like they're not just being told what Rashi says, but they're able to take that on their own and take those skills and do something on their own. Similarly, when we talk about the level and the sophistication of the type of learning we're trying to impart into our students, this year in 8th grade, for example, we're going to be moving on halfway through the year to learning Sefer Bereshit over again, and it's a very intentional decision because we want to show our students that you can take a fresh look at things that you've learned in the past, the stories of Sefer Bereshit, and really understand them on a different level. And that every single time you reach a new stage in life, you should be going back over that Torah, like we say, Hadran Allah Hadasiyam. We want to see that Sefer Bereshit again, so you can learn it and you can feel like, hey, I'm no longer that younger student who learned Bereshit this way. I'm now a student who can learn Bereshit on a much higher level. We have these unbelievable conversations that we have during class about issues that are, high level issues and issues that students bring up. Again, not only does it help them understand Yahadut in a way that Yiddishkeit in a way that relates to them, but it also helps build relationships between students and teachers. When we think about our Torah Sheba'al Peh curriculum, our Gemara curriculum, so again, this is our next level of students realizing that it's not just, I'm at a new level in terms of my studies. Again, emphasis on chavruta, emphasis on skills. We're also trying to choose a relatable sugyot that students can then say, I know what I'm supposed to do in my life. I know how this affects, my daily living because of what I'm learning. Again, they start asking the question, what does this have to do with me? And in our middle school, we are doing our best to try to answer that question with, here it is. Here, it's right here in the Torah that we're learning. And then finally, in our programming, so we, again, trying to give our students that sense of personal connection. Our tefillah in the morning, especially our minyanim, or our minyan, is student-led. As Rabbi Renan was talking about before, relating to the story about the chazanim, our students really take a lot of initiative in minyan. They really run it themselves, and the teachers are able to step back and kind of get nachas, watching the younger kids who at some point might have had the same students who had trouble sitting and davening in 5th grade, and now the gabbai. The Gabe, the mini, and running around, using that energy to tell people, to help people and help run tefillah well. Through our Shabbatonim, we have bar mitzvah program. We just began a Mishmar program starting this week for the middle schoolers to do extra learning on Thursday night. We have an advanced Gemara club that's beginning during lunch. We give our students hands-on mitzvah experiences. We did tzitzit making. We did challah baking for girls and for boys, of course, for everyone to get their hands on hands-on experiences. We have a bar mitzvah program. Our Shabbatonim are beautiful. And I just want to share a certain experience, a favorite experience that I had on a Shabbaton a couple of years ago. And that is we had a Shabbaton, I forgot which grade it was, in the middle school, where the theme was Ivri Anochi. The theme was Jewish pride. I'm proud to be Jewish. And one of the sessions that we had our teachers kind of sitting up at a table, and our teachers got up. All the teachers across the board, general studies, Limudei Kodesh, Limudei Chol, and said, "This is why I'm proud to be Jewish. This is what it means to be Jewish to me. This is why I care about being Jewish." And our students were able to hear from us individually, personally, not from our curriculum, but from who we are, saying what's important to us. And we had open questions. We had a great time. We had a lot of funny questions. We laughed, but also a lot of poignant, really deep questions the students were asking us, and they felt comfortable doing that because the relationships we're able to build, because the fun we're able to have, because we really have a wonderful time. Tomorrow night I'm going to learn with 3 8th graders that graduated last year, and I'm still keeping up with them. We learn every Thursday night together, and that's really to me that's what it is more than anything else. Just the relationships that we create, which helps foster a real personal connection to Yahadut, to Yiddishkeit, and to Limud Torah in our middle school.
Hey everybody, good evening. My name is Noah Coulter. I am a middle school math teacher and I'm also the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for General Studies in the middle school. First of all, I want to say welcome to everybody attending our open house tonight. As you heard from so many of our teachers already, Yeshivat Ha'atid is one of the superstar schools that really takes teaching and learning to a new level. And tonight I want to share with you a little bit about what our middle school does that really sets us apart from the rest. So one of the things for our middle school is the mission that we all have signed up for. Our middle school mission, as you're going to see in just a moment, is really based in the notion that we want to take teaching and learning beyond just content knowledge. We are here to really create learning opportunities that engage our students in lessons and discussions and activities that focus not just really on the content knowledge and acquisition, but the development of cognitive skills. These skills are things like complex problem solving, thinking creatively, coordinating with others, 21st century skills that are really going to set our students up for lifelong success. What that looks like in our middle school really varies depending on the subject area. So tonight I kind of want to share with you a little bit of what that may look like in our different disciplines. One of the things we always try to do is to break down the walls between subject areas and develop interdisciplinary units of study. So what you're seeing here is an example of a project that actually originated in a math classroom where students were learning about slope and graphing and things of that nature and developed stained glass artifacts in a project. This coincided with a unit that was also taking place within our art classes where students were learning about shading and coloring. This also happened to coincide simultaneously with a unit on history, which really focused on how art reflects culture. So our students really were exposed to this notion of art in so many different places, not just in math or just in art or just in history. And what that allows us to do is it enables us to really connect the dots for students and recognize how learning connects with other areas, not just subject specific. Some of the other things that we try and do in our middle school is really to teach our students to be minds-on learners. So for example, what you're seeing right now is a description of something called a portfolio problem. In our math classrooms, we don't just learn math, we do math. We create things using math. So here's an example where students who are learning about area, surface area, nets, things of that nature, were empowered to create a tent that takes into account a lot of those different components. And as you can see, it really is a hands-on, minds-on activity where students actually were building model tents based on specifications such as the height, the size, the number of people that wanted to be inside of the tent. Here's a really fun activity that I actually am going to open up to everybody right now through a poll. This is called the cheese ball check, and here's how it works. Right now, you're seeing on your screen a plate with a single cheese ball, and this question is posed in some of our math classes for students to figure out how many cheese balls are going to fit on this plate. So I believe there's a poll that should pop up in just a second that might allow you to vote on how many you think would fit on this plate. What's interesting about this is that not only does it really engage our students and learners right off the bat, because who doesn't love cheese balls, but it gets them to start thinking mathematically as problem solvers. Because the reality is that while this seems like a rather mundane question, just randomly asking about cheese balls, this certainly takes into account students' knowledge and understanding of area of circles, circumference, diameters, radii, and students would work through this problem using some of their math skills to come to some reasonable answer as to how many cheese balls actually fit on this plate. One other element of our middle school that we really pride ourselves on is that we don't really always strive for perfection. We strive to encourage our students to put in effort, develop that growth mindset, and be willing to come to school every day to push themselves forward. And that's where true change occurs. This aligns directly to something that exists in our middle school called the habits of success. The habits of success, as you can see on the screen right now, are 16 different habits that appear throughout our curriculum in different ways. And as you can see by this list, these are the types of habits that not only develop students in middle school, but really prepares them with the lifelong skills that they need to be successful in our middle school, in high school, and beyond. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Lyca Curlis, who will speak a little bit about elementary school.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am so happy to see everybody here, even those of you who have your videos off. You know, I'm used to doing a lot of open houses, but never through a virtual way. So I still hope that you can feel the warmth and the tight-knit community that makes Yeshiva Hatid so special, and the reason why I send my own children to this amazing school. So the first thing I want to ask you is, why are you here tonight? I think most of us are here because we want to find out more about what Yeshiva Hatid has to offer. And our job, me and Mr. Coulter tonight, is to really show you what sets Yeshiva Hatid apart from all the other schools and what makes us so unique. Long story short, it's our constant commitment to academic excellence. So some of you might have had time to go over the open house booklet before you got here. Some of you probably threw it on the table and forgot about it. But one of the things we always stress in our open house booklet is our rotational model. And I think we've heard a lot about it through all the teachers, so you kind of have a sense of what that looks like. But there are other schools that use rotational models. Everybody uses it for reading groups and math groups. Hopefully, it's a great way to learn. But what makes it Yeshivat Hatid so unique is our approach to rotations. It's where we shine is through our rotational model. So we teach most, if not all, of our lessons through rotations, but we don't just differentiate by learning level. So that's the key there. We differentiate by learning style. And this is something that a lot of us growing up never really understood, is what kind of learner are we? So I want to ask some of you right now to just raise your hand. How many of you felt growing up in school that you always felt you had to fit a mold to the curriculum? You had to mold yourself to learn the way the curriculum or the teacher wants you to learn. I know I did. And it's starving for children because children learn differently. Everybody is a unique learner. And what drives our rotational model is the philosophy of the universal design for learning. So some of you might have seen it on our ads, but this is an amazing philosophy on how we approach our instruction. So universal design for learning, the UDL approach, was actually developed by neuroscientists years ago who studied and did research on how people learn. And what they found, surprisingly, was that everybody learns differently. And the way that you learn is actually as unique as a fingerprint. So can you imagine having a group of students in a classroom and giving them all one lesson? And yes, if students are struggling, giving them worksheets and extra support and giving them enrichment when they're advanced. But what about the auditory learners? What about the visual learners? What about the students who need to communicate and have discussions in order to learn? What about those kinesthetic learners who need to have that hands-on learning? What happens to them? So we can go our whole lives all the way to middle school and not even know what kind of learner we are. And our rotational model is created so that our teachers are not only in close proximity to our students, obviously this year it looks a little different, but they're constantly able to monitor student progress and student learning style throughout the year. And we get to know our students on such a deep level that not only do our teachers know how our students learn, but our students also know who they are as learners. So it's one thing for a teacher to know how a child learns, but when a child themselves knows how they learn, they are so empowered. They can go their whole life saying, you know, I'm a visual learner, I need a picture. So I'll give you a cute anecdote. Last year, I actually had a first grader come to me. It was the first week of school, and we were doing our first math lesson, and I started teaching, and she comes out to me and she says, Mora Laiku, do you have any manipulatives? I can't add unless I have cubes in front of me. And I thought that was such an excellent representation of what our school is all about, that a incoming second grader already knew that she needs cubes and manipulatives to help her visualize what is happening when you put two parts together into a whole. So how do we grab this excellence out of our students? So our rotations encompass the following. The first one is this proactive approach to lesson planning. You know, in the past, teachers, they plan a lesson, and teachers and students who struggle or students who are super advanced, they'll get extras afterwards. That's very, you know, reactive, and we don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. We specifically plan our lessons to tailor them to meet the needs of diverse learners in our class. So I'll give you a little example through pictures because I don't want to bore you with all my talking. So one moment. Let me pull up some photos. Okay. I'm going to present over here. So through the multiple means of representation is how we utilize the UDL model. So over here you see some students, they have their papers in front of them, but they're using manipulatives. They're having a discussion. Obviously this was last year because they're not wearing masks, but it is a small group. It's really fostering a learning environment for this group in particular because they worked better with manipulatives. Whereas I had another group who worked better on the computer. So we would incorporate online programming into their math lessons. This is another group. So this group, we actually had them draw on the tables. So they loved doing that. It was so much fun for them. So whenever they came to the table, they would take out their manipulatives, but they always had their dry erase markers so they can draw on the table and they can see what ones, tens, and hundreds look like. So this is another example of how we utilize our rotational model. The interdisciplinary approach is another way we use rotations. It's when we're able to have our students cover one giant goal through multiple subject areas. For example, we were learning about why leaves change color in the fall. So instead of having students sit down and listen to a long story about chlorophyll and photosynthesis, we incorporated multiple subjects into this lesson. Our students who are kinesthetic learners, we all went outside together. Obviously, we went outside, we went on a nature walk, we grabbed leaves, one with a lot of chlorophyll, one that looked like it had less chlorophyll, and the students were able to touch and feel and see what it looks like when a leaf is changing colors. When we got back to the class, we had students working on a science project. They were able to use chromatography to strip the chlorophyll from the leaves so they can explore the hidden colors that were underneath, which was super cool because none of them believe me that there's hidden colors inside of a leaf, but I showed them. Now you see over here, doing the same thing. And they also are filling out an experiment form, so they're also learning about the elements of science. Over here, you see students are actually writing a writing piece for their lesson on why leaves change color in the fall. Another example of interdisciplinary instruction through rotations is when we learned about expository writing. So instead of having students just sit and write a lesson about Henri Matisse or Paul Cézanne, they do the writing, they do the research online. So they're on the computer, they're doing writing, and then they actually get to incorporate the art. And this is very similar in preschool with the amazing Laura Leo and Laura Tippy. They actually get to incorporate the art into their end of their lesson. So when they were learning about gouache découpé and Henri Matisse, they got to experience it firsthand. Look how pretty they look. And this was for Hanukkah. So we've culminated everything together. Another amazing example of how we incorporate the needs of diverse learners is through our inquiry and research projects. We integrate technology to meet the needs of 21st century learners. So this is our upper elementary class. So the students had learned in a unit about inventors and inventions, and they were tasked with coming up with assistive technology to help students inside the classroom that might have some extra needs. So we had students create focus glasses, they created elevated wheelchairs, they developed a business model, a business plan, and here they are pitching their idea to their classmates. So we had students who are good at research. We have students who are putting together slides using technology. We have students who are creative. Everybody is feeling like they play a role in their own learning. I'm just going to go through it quickly because I feel like everyone can see. There we go. This is PBO. So the final way that we use our rotations, which is excellent, is through our project-based learning. We pride ourselves on our project-based learning units that happen every year in every grade in elementary school and beyond. And we spend a lot of time diving deep into a specific content area. So here our students were learning about food allergies. They created their own allergy-friendly cookbook. They even made an infomercial for it. But instead of us just drawing it out, the students who were good at computers and wanted to participate did graphic design on computers. They were able to also, here I'll get to those later, but they were also able to come up with recipes. You'll see in a few seconds, we tested recipes together in the school kitchen, and it was just an all hands-on way of allowing all students to thrive. Here we had a hack fair. Students had to solve a problem in the classroom. The carpet is itchy, so they made a chair. It's called the carpet chair. And they used the engineering design process to create these amazing projects. And that's what's working in the kitchen. Okay. And here's the final PBL project where students learn about animal adaptations. I'm going to stop here. And basically the goal of elementary school is to prepare our students for middle school. And you heard how Mr. Coulter spoke about how students are developing habits of success. But where does that come from? It builds from the foundations that they get in elementary school, where each child is able to thrive because teachers are taking the effort and the time to develop lessons and meet their needs at their learning style and not just their learning level.
Thank you, Moalaiko. And at this point, we would like to take about 10-15 minutes of Q&A. You can write the questions in the chat. One of my administrators will read the questions and we'll try to answer them. In the end of the Q&A, we're going to play a quick Kahoot, a quick game. In the end of the game, the winner is going to get a free registration to Yeshivat Atid. That's a lot of money. So let's start. Well, Janice.
Okay, our first question is, what is the student-teacher ratio?
Janice, you can take this one up.
Okay, so the student-teacher ratio in early childhood is a little different than it is in the elementary school. Reverend and I always have a lot of fun with this conversation. And it's because in early childhood, I push back. I like to keep it a little smaller, 20, 21. And Reverend likes to push it a little higher. But the real answer is that in early childhood, in preschool, it's about pre-K, it's about 21, kindergarten, 22, 23. In the elementary school, also, it is about 23. And our goal is to have 3 classes per grade. And right now, Baruch Hashem, our school is doing beautifully. It's growing so fast. And we have 3 pre-Ks, 3 kindergartens, 3 first grades, 3 second grades, 3 third grades, 2 fourth and 2 fifth. So we really are excited about how nicely our school is growing.
And in terms of the teachers, in our Shoashim classes, the 2s and the 3s, we have 3 teachers in each classroom. Pre-K and kindergarten, we have 2 teachers in each classroom and a Hebrew teacher that going into each room for about 2.5 hours every day. And going into the elementary school, we have a teacher and assistant teacher in every classroom, in the Hebrew class and the Hebrew classes, and in the Judaic studies part of the day and in the English part of the day.
Okay, next question. I've heard tuition is less money because of parent involvement. What does that entail?
So I wish tuition was reduced because of parents' involvement. Parents do help tremendously in every aspect of the school. But tuition is low because of 5 main reasons. The first one you just heard from Moalaiko is the way that we're teaching in elementary school. It's through rotations. It's a little bit different this year with plastic glasses. You can't see it in the same way that you will see it in any other year, but it's the same concept that we splitting the class into 4 groups almost in every given time, in every lesson, in every subject. And the teacher and the assistant teacher are splitting their time between the groups. So all the enrichment and all the support happening in the classroom by the 2 teachers, by the teachers that, the head teacher and the assistant teacher, while they're working with 2 groups, the other 2 groups either working independently or working on the computer, and 15-20 minutes into each lesson, they are switching around. So every child have the time with the teacher and a time working independently. So that is actually reason why, number 1, why we're saving so much money, because the enrichment and the support are happening in the classroom. We do not need to hire extra teachers to pull kids to give enrichment. We do not need to give support to students because everything is happening in the classroom. Reason number 2 is the tuition assistant. our low tuition model is actually the biggest saving in our budget. And how is that? Because tuition assistant, it's a very small number, because most of our parents, to be exact, a little bit more than 98% of our parents are able to pay full tuition, meaning, 98% of our budget coming from tuition. 2% is coming from tuition assistant. We have once a year, we have an event once a year that we are raising money for a scholarship. We raised, in the last few years, we raised around $100,000. We actually needed to give a little bit less than that. So the need was even less than what we actually raised. It was reflecting less than 2% of our budget. And that is incredible. And we are very, very proud of that. The tuition assistant is not part of tuition. The next one is actually the staff tuition discount. As you probably know, teachers that working in a school getting a tuition break. In many schools, it's between 40 to 50, 60% of tuition. In our school, we are giving 10% off, 15% off, depending on years that we are working in the school. But that still is, when you take our low tuition and you reduce 10%, you are still, as a teacher, going to pay less than you're going to pay in another school. Number 4 is we have a very lean administration. We don't have 15 people in the business office. We don't have 4 or 5 secretaries. We don't have a lot of different administrators in the school. We have myself as a head of school. I am also the admission. I'm also doing many different things. And I have 2 associate principal, one for the younger grades and one for the upper grades. And we also have 1 person in the business office. So that's just to give you a glimpse into that area. And the last one is the number of students per class. Because of our rotation, because the way that we are working in the classroom, when you walk into a classroom, you're almost never going to see that the teacher is working and teaching 23, 22 students. They're working in small groups of 4, 5, 6, 7 kids most. So therefore, we can have in a classroom 22, 23, even sometimes 24 kids, if we have the room for it. So those are the 5 reasons why our tuition model is lower than in many other schools.
Okay, I just want to clarify because somebody messaged me. If you have a question, you're going to send it to Rav Ronen privately, because he's the only one who's going to see it besides me. So I know that you have a choice who to chat with, but if you want to ask a question, you're going to chat directly. You're going to put Rav Ronen's name, not the teacher's. And that's how you'll ask your questions. Next question. If you have a student who needs, let's say, speech therapy or OT, how do you provide that?
All right, Janice, you can take this one up.
Okay, so basically, all Yeshiva day schools have a partnership or entitled to funding from the state and from the town and from the state. So Bergen County Special Services is a provider that works with all the day school, the local Jewish day schools, private day schools. If a student needs a little extra support, let's say in reading or in math, we are allowed to fill out a form and say, we have identified a student, this student needs extra help, and Bergen County Special Services will once a week have somebody who comes and works for half an hour with a small group of students in the same grade. So that's the very basic layer of help. If for some reason a student needs more support and they need speech, let's say speech services, every child kindergarten and up is eligible to be screened for speech. If they qualify, they are also given services through the state, and they can get it also once a week for half an hour. All services provided by Bergen County are done 1-on-3, 1-on-4. They are not done privately 1-on-1. So that is the very basic, level of speech. Now, let's say a child needs more. They need OT. They have a learning disability. They need, they have ADHD, or they have a visual impairment, or they just need extra help. Bergen County offers free evaluations. You have to qualify. They have a meeting where you sit together, you identify problems. They determine if you're eligible for a screening. If you're eligible, they will screen you. And after the screening, if they feel you qualify, they will classify you. If you are a classified student, you can get OT if you qualify. Let's say though that you qualify for OT, but they don't classify you, then they won't provide the free service. So what we do in our school is we partnered with two local providers. One is POTS, it is Pediatric Occupational Therapy. They provide physical therapy and occupational therapy. And the other provider we work with is Teaneck Speech and Language. And what they do is that they will come into the building during the day and they will work one-on-one with the student who might need a little extra support. That is also done at the expense of the parent. So when a student, let's say, is struggling fine motor skills, we have a beautiful sensory gym in our building, and hopefully we'll get to show you that on the tour. And the OT will come into the building and they will work with the students one-on-one in the sensory gym. And then they will be able to go back to the classroom and tell the teacher, this is what we worked on. This is what we think you could help work with. This is what we, this is something that we feel that you should implement in the classroom. So it's a very nice partnership and it allows the teachers to really get more input as to what a child needs in the classroom.
There was a question that came to my chat. What percentage of our teachers have master's degree? So the answer is most of our teachers, most of our head teachers either have a master's degree or working toward their master's degree in education. We also have many shlichim. I don't know if you noticed, but the head of school is Israeli, and I like to bring shlichim to come and work in the school. And we have many shlichim that coming in. The criteria for them to be qualified to be a shaliach, they have to have a BA in education from Israel.
What types of assessments are used to monitor the child's progress?
Jonas.
Okay. So in elementary school, we start off with the children have spelling tests, the children have math tests. We don't call them tests. Spelling tests are called spelling quizzy wizzies. Math tests are called math checks. We don't want to stress anybody out. It's really just in first and second grade to be able for the teachers to get a sense of where our students are holding, what they know, if there's anything that we need to review before we move forward. Once they get to third grade and up, they have long-term projects. They have tests in each subject area. But the goal of a test is not to just be memorize material and spit it back. As you heard Mara Laiku speak about and Mr. Coulter speak about, the projects, the project-based learning, the experiential activities, all of those hands-on lessons and the hands-on follow-up experiences are all ways we assess children. So it's not that they have to go home. They will have a test, definitely they'll have tests, but we don't expect them to go home and memorize. We don't want children to go home and just be like a sponge and have to spit it back. We really want them to have a meaningful experience. And like Laiku said, we know that children learn differently. They're visual learners, they're auditory learners, and you know, we want to be able to assess them in a way that's most meaningful for them. So there's lots of different types of assessments. The one test that we do standard across the grades is we do the MAP assessment. The MAP assessment we use 3 times a year to get a baseline in the fall and to just really ensure that our students are growing relative to themselves throughout the year.
MAP is a standardized test, and we are sharing the result with the parents in the beginning of the school year and in the end of the school year as well.
I don't have any more. Oh,
okay, excellent.
I do. Sorry.
Go for it.
Oh, and can we direct this one to Mrs. Brum if she's still here? Do you have any emphasis on social emotional skills and or an active guidance office for students?
So Mrs. Brum is our school social worker, and she's happy to answer that.
I'd love to. So we definitely do. In the early childhood, it's incorporated into part of their regular curriculum. And then in elementary school, we have social emotional learning, which is also incorporated into everyday classes, but also through classes that I teach when I come and join the students. In middle school, social emotional learning is called advisory. It happens once a week for each of the grades. Each grade has a different focus in middle school. And we also like to do school-wide programs where we're focusing on things like midot and community and other ways that we can have social emotional learning on a school-wide scale. In terms of guidance, I am the guidance department, and I have great relationships with the children. When sometimes they ask to come see me, sometimes the teachers will say, can you check in? Parents will call me and say, can you check in? I love having that open relationship with the teachers, with the parents, with the students, and it's really the best way that we are able to support the children and make sure they're getting everything they need.
Okay, so at this point, before we getting into the game, I just want to say it was a pleasure having you here tonight. We are more than happy to have you on a tour. We would love to have you on a tour when you can spend time with me and Moajanes, looking at the school, asking more questions, go more into the day-to-day, what's happening in the day-to-day in the school. I can say we have a very big demand this year for places, so please schedule that as soon as you can, and we'll be happy to have you. We will follow up tomorrow with an email with information. If you missed the Bitmoji one fair, you will be able to get a link for it, a video and things like that, and obviously a link to schedule a tour.